The murder of 11-year-old Lyhanna is a tragedy that has shaken the heart of France and exposed deep systemic failures. This chronological timeline traces the events from her disappearance to the national crisis that followed. Fleurance, in the Gers department of southwestern France, was a town that felt safe until Friday, May 29, 2026. At 3 p.m., Lyhanna left her school. It was a normal afternoon, but she never arrived home. Witnesses later told police they saw her get into a vehicle driven by a 41-year-old local man. He was a familiar face, the father of one of her classmates. This trust likely played a role in her final moments. By evening, the family reported her missing. Police immediately launched a massive search and began collecting CCTV footage. On Saturday, May 30th, investigators identified the man from surveillance footage and witness statements. The suspect, Jérôme Barella, was detained. Simultaneously, the community mobilized to find Lyhanna. Hundreds of volunteers and officers began extensive searches across fields, woods, and rural areas surrounding Fleurance. On Sunday, search operations expanded. Specialist units and aerial resources combed every inch of the countryside. Public concern reached a fever pitch. There was still no sign of Lyhanna, and the clock was ticking. On June 1st, Barella was placed under formal investigation for kidnapping and unlawful detention of a minor. The judge ordered his pre-trial detention. Prosecutors were confident the evidence placed him with Lyhanna that afternoon. The investigation took a harrowing turn on June 2nd as the media began reporting on Barella's past. Reports emerged that a rape complaint involving a child had been filed against him just the year before, in 2025. Anger was building. People questioned why those earlier allegations hadn't led to more aggressive action. On June 3rd, details of earlier complaints against Barella became national news. The case was now a national debate. Prosecutors confirmed he had been the subject of multiple prior procedures. Political figures began demanding answers. On June 4th, the search ended in heartbreak. A body was found in a grain silo near Poicasquier, 15 kilometers away. The site was linked to Barella's past employment. The area was sealed off as the nation held its breath for DNA results. The confirmation came on June 5th. The body was Lyhanna's. Shock and grief surged across France. Justice Minister Gérald Darmanin stated the system failed to protect this little girl. The president agreed. By June 6th, the grief had turned into national anger. Calls for judicial reform were heard in every city. Organizations and politicians demanded accountability for how the previous complaints had been handled. On Sunday, June 7th, 6,000 people gathered in Florence for a silent march to honor her memory. Speakers called the tragedy a societal failure. Similar vigils were held across the entire country. Minister Darmanin ordered an unprecedented review of 70,000 child-related complaint files nationwide. This move acknowledged that the failures in Lyhanna's case might be widespread within the justice system. On June 8th, prosecutors from across France were summoned for urgent discussions about the systemic failures. Protests continued outside government buildings as more information about Barella's prior record emerged. The case dominated French politics. The judiciary defended its work while acknowledging the gravity of the crisis. New alleged victims and witnesses began to come forward with information about Barella's past conduct. On June 10th, the murder investigation continued. Authorities were still working to establish the exact cause of death. They were reconstructing Lyhanna's final hours, piece by piece, as Barella remained in custody. Lyhanna, age 11, disappeared May 29, 2026. Her life was cut short by a man who should have been behind bars. Jérôme Barella, the father of her school friend, is the primary suspect. He faces a murder inquiry that is ongoing. Let's look at the CCTV evidence. At approximately 3 p.m., Lyhanna was last seen after leaving school. Footage reportedly captured her approaching the suspect's vehicle. She knew him. He was a parent at her school. Minutes later, additional cameras showed the vehicle driving through town with Lyhanna inside. This is the last sighting. The car was tracked moving away from the school area. Authorities have withheld the exact timestamps for the investigation. Barella claimed he dropped her at the municipal swimming pool, but investigators found no evidence to support this. Crucially, no verified footage shows Lyhanna ever leaving the vehicle alive. This became central to the case against him. On June 12th, new details emerged. Jerome Barella had been flagged by the US-based NCMEC long ago. The alert concerned suspected online exploitation activity, yet no intervention followed. The failure was international. President Macron stated that public confidence in state institutions is now at stake due to these apparent failures. He acknowledged that the handling of Barella's prior record was a disaster and promised full accountability. Let's look deeper into his history. In 2017, a mother reported Barella's relationship with her 17-year-old daughter. The case was dropped in 2018 when the girl stated the relationship was consensual, a missed warning sign. In 2021, Barella was fired from a school cleaning job due to inappropriate online behavior with a student. Despite the dismissal, it is unclear if any legal action was taken. He remained free to interact with children. In January 2022, he was accused of raping a 7-year-old at his home. The case was transferred to prosecutors. But in 2024, the case was dismissed due to a lack of verifiable medical evidence. Another opportunity to intervene was lost. The most devastating failure came in August 2025. The mother of a 10-year-old filed multiple counts of rape against him. The police file included medical reports supporting the child's claims. It reached the prosecutor in January 2026. But because of administrative delays, Barella was never summoned or questioned until he abducted Lyhanna. Now, the family of that 2025 victim is suing the French state and the Justice Ministry for gross negligence. They argue that if the system had worked, Lyhanna would still be alive today. The state is on trial for its silence. Additional reports indicate that both Barella's father and brother have also faced independent sexual assault accusations. It appears to be a pattern of silence, both within the family and within the institutions meant to protect the public. The Justice for Lyhanna movement is not just about one man. It's about a complete overhaul of child protection. They demand that sexual violence allegations be handled with the urgency and seriousness they deserve. The silo near Picasquier has become a temporary memorial, a place of deep sorrow and a call for a safer future. How many more warnings were needed? How many more files were left on desks while children were at risk? The review of 70,000 files is a start, but the nation watches to see if real change will follow. Forensic work continues to establish the exact cause of death and the precise timeline of Lyhanna's final hours. Lyhanna's death has become one of France's most consequential criminal cases. Her name is now a call to action. Her legacy is the demand for a world where every child is seen, heard, and most importantly, protected. The suspect remains in custody, but the true trial is for the system itself. France cannot afford to forget. We must ensure that Lyhanna's story is the catalyst for the reform that will prevent another tragedy. For Lyhanna and for every child whose voice was not heard, we will keep her memory alive. May she rest in peace, and may her name bring the justice she was so tragically denied. A national tragedy, a call for change, the case of Lyhanna, reported and reconstructed based on the events of June 2026.